Welcome back to another Unreal Engine 4 tutorial on this FPS series where we're going to, in this video, talk about weapon switching and real quick talk about different kinds and then go into a quick and dirty solution for weapon switching and just having two weapons. Technically you could make it work for more, but not with my system. You'd have to add some math and some other stuff. But regardless, let's dive right into it by talking about different kinds of weapon switching. You've got your different kinds of inventories and way games handle inventories. Some don't show an inventory or they just show your hotbar slots, and some do have an inventory and you can have different weapons and put them in the different slots and whatnot, and there's more variance to the depth of honestly just picking whichever item you want to hold in your inventory. There's a lot of variation. You've got your Doom, where you can just hit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and the game already knows there's these certain weapons, these are where their slots are going to be. Or you've got Call of Duty switching, where I think you hit 1, 2, or 3, and that brings up your primary, your secondary, your knife, and then 4 is like grenade or different stuff like that. Or other games, I think another, and I'm sorry, I know it's not Call of Duty who does this, or someone else does, is where you just press 1 and it switches, it cycles through your weapon. You just press or whatever button you want, right? And then, like I said, yet others like Fallout, like mini RPGs, or sandbox games like Unturned, or that's kind of just the stuff that's coming to my mind. Plenty of different games have an inventory you can open up, and some of them are just a slot, and some of them, like Unturned and other stuff, are like the survival inventory that have a very specific size. Well, nonetheless, those are all great different solutions, and my solution right now is really not as fleshed out as any of those, but it gets the job done. And it really is just a band-aid solution for something later and honestly greater in this series. I'm going to have an inventory. I'm going to have it to where I'm going to show different stages as I'm showing now. But basically, we are going to reach an inventory level of selecting your weapons and all that different stuff. So don't worry, it's not going to be this crappy the entire tutorial series. But for now, we're going to have 2 slots, primary, secondary, and that's it. We pick up a gun, it puts it in our hand. We pick up another gun, it will put it on our back. If we press X, we can switch between those instantaneously. No animations, none of that. None of that filler stuff right now. We're just getting to the meat and bones of the logic. Well, first of all, let's start in our weapons blueprints folder. You could start in weapons, you could start in character. I don't really know where to put this because it's, like I said, this is kind of a band-aid solution, so we may not be using this enumerator for long. But we need to get an enumeration here and just call it weapon slot. And open that up real quick, and we're going to just make two enumerators here. Primary weapon. You could do primary weapon or just primary and secondary. I'm going to say primary weapon. And tab through twice because it's weird like that, and secondary weapon. I don't know why, but I'm really feeling the pressure of spelling on camera for some reason right now. We're going to go to our character and open him up. And first of all, we want to just add the variable in that we just made, right? So, weapon slot in use is what we're going to call it, because it's going to be just that. It's going to be the weapon slot that we are currently using, or whatever the name, whatever the value of this variable is, will be the weapon slot we're using. And then, secondly, we need to change a little bit of logic on our equip, and then we need to hop into our equip real quick. So let's just find that. Let's see here. Equip item. Aren't I just a preparer? It looks like I already set it up here. Item equipped, and then equip and hold, and all this is already set. If you don't have this set up, you can kind of follow it here. We're just branching for if we are not equipped, is item not equipped. If item is not equipped, we go here. But if it is, equipped, which would be false in this. We want to run equip item, and we want to equip and hold be false. And by the way, if you don't have this variable on your equip item, what you can do is you can select the function either here or over here in your functions, and then go under inputs, and here you'll see equip item and hold, or equip and hold and item. These are the variables. You can just add them like you would any other variable. Call it whatever, yada yada yada, and it shows up. Cool. Well, what we need is still the item from this, so let's get pickup item. And, of course, like I said, we are supposed to have a gun in hand from this logic, so we're not going to equip and hold. Let's open it up and see what happens when we decide not to equip and hold. Well, two things happen. We set this, that's fine, but I'm not talking about that. We ask if we're equipping and holding, and we set the collision. I actually need to do this before this, and we should be shutting physics off as well. I don't know if we're doing that, but I'll probably handle that in a bug episode or something. Well, let's just switcheroo these. So I'm just gonna the way I disconnected those real quickly is I alt clicked on the connection, so I press and held alt and I clicked on that connection. Okay, so just flip these around. So that way it means whether or not we're going to hold this or not, we still need to stop collisions. Otherwise, we're just doubling our logic. So be smart about your logic. Organization is the best thing. I suck at it in real life, but programming has definitely helped me with it. Okay, so we're not going to equip and hold. So what do we need to do? The first thing we want to grab is attach actor to component from our equipped item. Attach actor to component. And, of course, our component is going to be mesh. We want to snap to target on all three of these. And we need a socket to put this. Now, I just like to make a socket on the back. You can make one on the holster, or however, like you can make as many sockets as you want for like different weapon locations, and that's exactly what you should do. It looks better and all that. It's awesome. But I'm just gonna do something really quick and dirty. The whole point of this tutorial, I'm gonna just put one on spine 2, and pardon me for not talking through that. I right-click spine 2. Add socket, and then it brings it up here. It adds it to the end of the hierarchy, so that's why it does it so far down here. But I'm just going to call this rifle holster. I'm just calling it that because, you usually throw a rifle on the back or a sword, and then, pistols on the side. So I'm gonna flesh this all out later, and I'm not even gonna add a preview mesh and change it. It's literally just gonna be sticking sideways through our body. It's not gonna look good, but that's not the point. We're gonna handle all of this later. I'm trying to prioritize better in these videos. So what we want to do is now add two variables basically close to duplicates to equipped item. So let's add a variable and call it primary weapon. And we need a second one called secondary weapon. Alrighty. And of course, we just need to make these object master references here. Yeah, it's faster if I type master. Okay. Master is faster. Whoa. Anyways, so what we need to do now is get secondary weapon. And I'm gonna follow up on this line real quick, but just so we're all on the same page, this is the primary weapon line, and this is the secondary weapon line, essentially, because when you pick up a gun, if you're already holding one, it's going to make it your secondary. But like I said, this is a super flawed, super illogical system. It's very, very simple and basic for what we're using right now, and it gets the job done. Not the best system at all. So what we need to change our socket name to, because I completely forgot that as I came back, is rifle holster. And now we need to check if this is valid. And the reason why is because we don't want to be overriding our secondary weapon. We don't want to just be able to pick up weapon and weapon and weapon and just have it glitch out and just, oh, now there's 7 weapons attached in the exact same area to my back. Cool. And I can only use one of them because it's the most recent one that you pick up. So we don't want that glitch. We want it to only pick up one thing. Well, it's not valid. It shouldn't be if we don't have anything there. And because we haven't set the reference, so we want to set the reference. Set secondary weapon, and you of course want to set this to item to equip. Now we need to actually follow up and make the logic match for our primary line. So at the end of this, I would suggest doing the same thing if you want the logic to work. I don't know why I said suggest, because there's only one way to do this. We want to actually get the primary weapon and see if it's valid. And like I said, this is also why it's flawed, because I really should be seeing if this is happening up here, but I just want the logic to work, and this is the simplest way for it to work at the end. So like I said, it's very flawed in many ways, but it gets the concept across. So if it is valid, we don't want to do anything, but if it's not, we want to set primary as, oh, thought that would be item to equip, as we want. And as far as I know, that is all we need to do here. I made a input setting in project settings called switch weapon, and I'm just going to do that by going into action mappings, naming it switch weapon. And I made the key X because I'm also used to that in some games, as I feel like are many of us, I would hope. I don't know why. Maybe they're not good games. I don't know. Now we need to go back into our character and get switch weapon. And this is where our weapon slot and use enum will come into play. We need to drag that out and switch. And of course it'll only have one switch because of we're getting just this enum. And before I go into this, I want to kind of explain another reason this is flawed. I'm sorry, I keep pausing here. But also just to keep you guys informed as to how to think about this logic. It's actually completely backwards, because we want to switch our weapon based on the weapon we're using. So if we're using primary, we are going to switch to secondary, right? And if we are using our secondary, we want to switch to primary, right? So even though it looks like, oh, primary weapon goes here and secondary weapon goes here, it's the other way around. But it does give a good rule for what you start with. You want to start detaching your primary here, and you want to start detaching your secondary here. So let's actually start doing that. So first I'm going to detach from component, and it's gonna, you can just do whatever and delete the component it gives you. I'm gonna grab our primary, and you can keep all this because we're immediately gonna reattach it somewhere. Drag off the primary and attach to component. Attach these. I'm gonna give us a little bit more room here. The socket name needs to be rifle holster, because we're detaching our primary from our hand and attaching it to our back immediately. No animations, no pause, nothing. The parent needs to be set to mesh, because that's what our body is, mesh. And now we want to get our detach from component. We need to duplicate this, and then get our secondary weapon and connect this. Now, I want to note a glitch that might happen to you if you just like try and get detached from component and connect to the secondary. I actually had it grab the skeletal mesh from secondary for some reason. If you have that, just detach it and reattach it, and it should say root component. Alrighty, now we can copy our attach to component to actor, or attach actor to component, and then the target will be the secondary weapon, and the parent will be our mesh. Of course, these, though, do need to be snapped to target, because when we're attaching, we want it to snap to the socket location. Alrighty, so let me just run over what this does real quick. So we press X, or our switch weapon. It sees that we're using a primary weapon in our hand right now. It's going to detach that, attach it straight to our back, detach the secondary from our back, and attach it to our hand to use it instantaneously. Last thing we need to do is make secondary weapon the equipped weapon, and we're good to go. Now we can copy all of this and just swap the primary and secondary weapons, and it's that easy, essentially. Once again, it's not perfect in many ways, but it is a lot better than absolutely nothing. So we can just grab secondary and connect these to their respective locations, and everything else is as it should be. And just for a reminder, the way I'm immediately getting these out of the variables, I am control dragging out of the variable box. And then of course we can just set the equipped weapon to primary. To primary. Alrighty, now let's Control Shift S, save up here, and play. But before, let's actually make a different weapon so that we know that we're picking up a different weapon instead of just duplicating this. So let me just go into the blueprints, weapons. I'm going to make a child here, and weapon test. I'm going to change this skeletal mesh to, let's say, yeah. Cool, that's a different one. It's like the AK-47-esque weapon. Drop that into our world. Cool. So now we pick up this and we hold it. We pick up this, and you can see it's sticking through our guts. It's hanging out our back socket. Okay, cool. So now, can I get a better shadow? No, I can't. Okay. So, so now let's press X. Cutting to the solution here. I did not rename attach actor to component to the hands as it should be. So this needs to be grip point. And I'm going to copy that and make that down here as well, because those should have been set. But this should still be rifle holster for the first set, detaching what we are using. Okay, let's play that again and try it out. We're going to pick up black rifle. Oh, sorry. Pick that up. Okay, it does the animation. Forgot we added that. And then it's going to pick up the other. It's going to stick through our guts. We're going to press X, and it's going to swap. And we can still shoot. We can still aim down sights. We can still reload. Cool. And we press X again. And another thing, I completely forgot that we did not even set our primary or secondary after we swap them. So we need to alt drag our variable here, and then the top one should be secondary, and the bottom one should be primary. Because if we're holding secondary, it will turn into primary after the swap, and then if we're holding primary, we'll turn to secondary after the swap. That is why that didn't work. Third time's a charm. How about it? Pick up the gun. We're holding it. Pick up the other gun. Cool. Sticking through our guts. Press X. Swaps. Press X. And spamming X. Cool. Works how we should hope it does. And, you know, I guess that works or something. Do they? They should all hold their own ammo. Yeah, because see, this one's shooting in burst, and then this one's out, and this one's auto. You know, I did realize that I made X. What's the word? I made X change fire mode and switch weapon, so I can switch weapon with one. Let's try that. But this just shows you that they have their own their own ammos and everything, and they work. So let's see. Okay, I'm gonna change this to full auto and completely empty it, and then press 1, and it switches. and this still has ammo. I'm going to switch it to full auto, switch it to burst, and switch one. I still am empty here. Press R, and then back to full auto, back to burst now, back to single, and go back this, and this is still back to burst. They hold their data as they should, so it's really cool. The way that we've built our systems, they kind of plug and play when we pick them up with other systems. That's the way we want stuff to work, right? We don't want to have to do extraneous amounts of tweaking and work per each system we add, and we should understand that we're going to have to do some extra stuff sometimes, but if we make everything as plug and play as possible, saves us work in the long end. So what we've done today is pretty simple, and it does kind of save us a little bit of work in the long end, or the long run, but we do actually have a lot more work to do if we want a much better swapping system. So I'm going to cover that in the future, but I really hope you enjoyed this episode. Please leave a like if it helped you, or subscribe, comment, all that fun stuff. I do have a Discord channel for this community to help out and ask questions and all that fun stuff. And of course, if you have any suggestions, questions, any of that, please ask, because I'm going to be continuing this tutorial series, and I know I'm actually in an old version still. I have not uploaded the 4.26 update version video. I will. I'll get there, but I'm trying to get a couple videos out. So thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next one.